I'm Misha Hadaway, CEO and owner of Gentle Mama Counseling, and you're tuned into Ladies Power Lunch.
Hi, I'm Nadine Keller, CEO of Precision Sales Coaching and Training, and you are tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Debbie Sodergren, the CEO of Up Vibrations, and you are plugged into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Christy Sullivan, human design expert, author, and speaker, and you are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Keisha Zulo, president of Events of Joy, and you're tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Mary Colangelo. I'm an international fashion therapist, and you are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm LaKeisha Clemens, the CEO of Freedom Life Therapy and Wellness. You are tuned in to the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, I'm Kiana Coachman Strickland, also known as DJ Q Boogie. I'm the founder of Female DJ Association, and you are tuned into the Ladies Power Lunch Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. I am your host, Dr. Davia Shepherd, and not only do I host this show, but I also host a women's group called Ladies Power Lunch. I invite you to come on and join us over in our Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group. We're having conversations just like the one that we're going to have today here on the show every single day. Ladies Power Lunch is made up of a group of women. They're women in business. They're all either owning their own business, they're entrepreneurs, they own small business, they're in corporate life, they're in nonprofit, they're all in pretty much places of responsibility in their business. But what makes them different from everybody else that you can find in all the highways and byways of the internet is that they are all committed to supporting each other, because they know, just like I do, that when we support each other, everybody wins, and that rising tide lifts every single boat. So I invite you, come join us. And if you'd like to know how to join us, just go to growsmarter.com/Facebook. That's growsmarter.com/Facebook. On to the show. I have a very special guest with me today. She's a friend to the show. She's been on the show before. We've talked about public speaking. We've talked about taking care of yourself, but she's here today because we are co-authoring an amazing book called Live Your Optimal Life. Yes, Live Your Optimal Life. It's basically the name of this show. This show is called Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. And we're really focused on that living your optimal life because my experience, my personal experience has been working in corporate and even working in our own private practice here, is that a lot of the times we can leave ourselves off our own list. And so we fall by the wayside while we're busy building everything else and taking care of everybody else. And so what we're going to be talking about today is how to be that person that takes care of the things that need to be taken care of, but who does not leave herself off her own list. And she is the kind of person who lives her optimal life. So I want to welcome Shannon Daniels. Shannon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on the show and always just wonderful to talk to you.
Every single time. I love talking to Shannon. Shannon and I, we speak so often that it's just a pleasure having her on the show and being able to share her with you. Shannon, for those people who may have missed you being on the show before, can you share with everybody who you are and tell them a little bit about the wonderful things that you're doing in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Shannon Daniels, and I'm a public speaking, communication, and confidence coach. And what that means is I help people find their voice. I help them get their message out into the world. I help them with everything from speech writing to getting over those nerves and those jitters that may be having you avoid the stage or get up there and start sweating bullets and shaking. So that's where that confidence piece comes in, and everything in between. I work with everything from small business owners and entrepreneurs all the way up to larger organizations doing workshops and custom programs for them. I also have a book. I'm an author of my own book, Water Yourself, and I'm a contributor to multiple of the Ladies Power Lunch anthologies, which makes me so excited. Yay, you have it. It's sitting over there. I should have had it handy, ready to go. So that's me in a nutshell. You're muted.
Thanks. One of the things that I always like to ask our guests is to share with us a little bit about how you got here. Well, we're talking about living your optimal life. We're talking about being a woman in business who has to make herself a priority. And you wrote a whole book called Water Yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got here, how you got to the point where you're running your own business and writing these books and contributing to the Ladies Power Lunch anthologies? What brought you here?
Yeah, it's a bit of a windy journey, actually. When I first went off to college, I studied aerospace and mechanical engineering. I know, complete 180 from ending up into communications.
Yeah, but no knowledge is wasted. And I totally love that about you. That's like one of my favorite things about you.
So I thank you. I loved engineering because it's problem solving, right? It's a lot of figuring out how to create a problem or solve a problem, innovate, do something different that people haven't thought about before so that we can improve humankind and improve the world around us. The problem was math, me, didn't get along so well. So I learned that as much as I was great at the engineering and the science pieces, the math piece just wasn't for me, and that's okay. So I jumped around a bit in majors till I landed on communication. I actually ended up studying liberal arts, and I studied writing, communication, and marketing, not really having an idea what all this communication stuff was about. And then as I got into it, I'm like, yes, I found my love. And then I ended up going on and getting a master's in interpersonal communication. But I didn't really land on being a public speaking coach until 8.5 or 9 years ago. I went into your typical corporate ladder climbing and started in communication related roles with sales and marketing, grew up into leadership there. And it wasn't until I had an opportunity, I never thought about being an entrepreneur. It was not in my vocabulary, but it wasn't until I had an opportunity to take a severance package because there was a merger happening. I was offered to keep my role and actually take over I was working for a hospital to take over for the whole system running marketing and digital media. But I just had this, I was burnt out from just working all the time and climbing this ladder. And at the same time, I was writing Water Yourself, which is a book about self-care and making time for yourself and investing in yourself. And that came out of me having my own health problems that I was dealing with. I was stressed, I was unhealthy, sick all the time, couldn't figure out why. And I went back and got a health coaching certification and learned a lot about myself, and then decided to write a book about self-care and how all these things affect, not only just food, but also our thoughts and our feelings affect our body and our mind and our spirit and how we can show up in the world. And as I was writing that book, I realized I was struggling with it because I wasn't following my own advice. And so when this came along, everything kind of aligned. And it was like, I'm writing this book, I'm struggling to finish it. I couldn't figure out why. I had this severance package option. And as I was going to church, I kept hearing this message of you have to step out on faith. You can't walk on water unless you step out of the boat, right? All of these things. And it was just kind of all of this stuff coming together. Call it divine intervention, call it the universe, call it whatever it is that you believe, but it was all in alignment there. So I stepped off the cliff and I became an entrepreneur, and I've done a lot of things since. I was a health coach for a short stint and realized coaching, while it was for me, that wasn't really the right arena for it. And just naturally, again, the universe was telling me public speaking, communication, this is your passion, this is what you're good at, because a lot of the entrepreneurs I was working around and co-working knew I taught public speaking and communication at the college level. So they kept asking me for advice and help on their pitches and presentations and decks and all of that. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm doing this more and enjoying it more than the health coaching. I'll be a communication coach. And I haven't looked back. And out of that came a technology business and Captive, which is also for presentations and events. So I got frustrated with presentation technology, built my own. And I just have been living this entrepreneurial journey ever since.
That's beautiful. And I think it's a wonderful example of how no knowledge is wasted, because I'm sure all the knowledge that you had around engineering and project management and problem solving went into helping you to develop that platform that is called In Captive, which is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, it is where Ladies Power Lunch lives off of social media. So you can catch, for example, a lot of our previous presentations and workshops and summits on In Captive. You can go on In Captive and network with other Ladies Power Lunch members. It's a wonderful platform, and it is for facilitating speakers. So we love it, and we're really, really glad that you are a part of our Ladies Power Lunch community and that you've had such a journey that's led you here. So let's talk a little bit about the type of person who finds it most beneficial to work with you. Like, people are watching along and they're like, oh, I like the sound of this Shannon Daniels. I wonder if I'm her kind of person. Who's your kind of person?
Honestly, I work with a lot of executives and a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners. And you wouldn't believe how many CEOs and executives are deathly afraid of speaking. They have to do it every single day, but they're scared of it. Or they want to just improve their skills because, listen, when we go to school, we learn how to read and write, but we don't necessarily learn how to communicate effectively. When we go to school, we learn how to do math, but we don't necessarily learn how to balance a checkbook, right? It's the same thing. So I end up working with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that want to elevate their business and elevate their brand, because nowadays it's so hard to stand out on social media and online marketing because everybody's doing it. And just think about the sheer number of ads and pop-ups and things you get in your feed on a daily basis. And so getting out there and speaking in front of an audience, letting them connect with you and you with them, letting them see who you are truly and authentically makes a big difference. And it helps differentiate you from everybody else. So small business owners and entrepreneurs find a lot of value and working with me for that purpose. And then when I'm talking to professionals and executives, a lot of it's about elevating and polishing, confidence boosting. And then when I do work with organizations, a lot of that is more workshop focused and group coaching focused, but it's all in the same realm of people wanting to be more effective communicators so they can authentically share their message in a clear and concise way that connects with their audience and builds engagement and also creates conversions, right? Because in business, we want that to go beyond just that conversation. So how do you do that? And I always tell people to look at public speaking as a conversation with a group of people instead of one-on-one like this. And that helps a lot. So those are the types of people I work with.
Outstanding. So I asked you to hop on today because we are, and I don't like to say anything that's going to put a date stamp on these episodes because they're all supposed to be evergreen, but I'll share a little secret with all of you. We are about 6 or 7 weeks away from the next Ladies Power Lunch Summit. So for those of you who don't know, Ladies Power Lunch hosts a summit at least once a year. And when we host the summit, we usually release alongside the summit an anthology of beautiful, beautiful stories from the speakers who are going to be a part of the summit. And our upcoming summit is called Live Your Optimal Life. And Shannon's going to be one of our presenters, and she's also contributed a chapter to our upcoming anthology. So our anthology is called Live Your Optimal Life. And I want to know, Shannon, just tell us a little about if someone was, you wrote a whole book about watering yourself, and you wrote a chapter in our book about living your optimal life. If somebody were to ask you, what are the top 5 things that you would recommend to us for living our optimal life, what would those things be?
Yeah, well, number one is water yourself, which for those of you who don't know what watering yourself means, because, hey, I made it up, right? Watering yourself is about self-care. Think about it. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So many of us get busy, 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 running and doing everything else, taking care of everybody else, especially us ladies. We're really good at this, kids and work and family members and, you know, all the chores that have to be done and the grocery shopping, you name it. We often end up depleting ourselves. And then we're not productive and we're not good to anybody. And so as Dr. Davia always likes to say, you have to put on your oxygen mask first before you put it on other people. That's what watering yourself is all about. It's about making that time for and investing in yourself, unplugging, doing what you need to do. And that can be anything from just a day of rest to going to the spa, to reading, to expanding your education, whatever it is you want and need to do to invest in yourself and recharge your batteries, plug in. Well, unplug from all the devices and all the work and plug in to recharge yourself. So that's one. Another is find your passion and do purposeful work you love. A lot of people look at my journey and go, "Ah, you've done a lot of different things. Why were you bouncing around so much?" Part of it was me resisting the call. We had an anthology previously, right? Answer the call. So I wasn't answering the call. And once I finally answered the call, I found a passion and purpose in the work that I do. I get to help people find their confidence in their voice every day. And that brings me so much joy, which in turn helps me to water myself. And it makes me live my optimal life because I know I'm doing meaningful work. Number 3 would be to love yourself as you are. Stop judging yourself. Stop comparing yourself to others. When you do that, you're just sucking the life and energy out of yourself. And so it's really hard for us, especially as women, again, to love ourselves as we are and love our bodies as they are. But listen, you are perfectly imperfect just how you are. I don't know how many of you needed to hear that today, but you are perfect just the way you are, and you should love yourself the way you are. The fourth thing would be, don't be afraid of failure. We all fail. It's what you do from that failure that's important. So use it as a springboard, use it as a learning opportunity. I always like to say every no or every failure is one more step on the way to yes, or one more step on the way to success. And then finally, you cannot do this alone, ladies. You cannot, and gentlemen that are out there listening. It may be called Ladies Power Lunch, but we do have some great fellas in the group too. For all you fellas listening, do not be afraid to ask for help. As Dr. Davia said at the beginning of this, the great thing about this group is everybody really does help each other. I've been a part of so many networking groups where it's transactional. This is a heart-centered group of people that lifts each other up, but you're not going to get that lift and that boost you need unless you ask for help. I actually wrote a chapter in another book about the importance of asking for help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It's so important. Don't go it alone. Collaboration is key.
I think you just said the word collaboration. So for those of you who don't know, when somebody says the word collaboration on the show, I have to take a drink. So
cheers.
Because we're all about collaboration. I really feel as though we could, very many of us, be so much farther ahead if we weren't attempting to recreate the wheel, if we were able to raise our hands and find our next best collaboration partner, or if we were able to raise our hand and find somebody who's done this thing before us, who's willing to share their process with us. And so that's what we're all about in the Ladies Power Lunch group. Shameless plug for the group. Join us over at growsmarternotharder.com/Facebook.
See you there.
So if you were to give us some, if people were to take nothing else away from our conversation today, and you just wanted them to take this one thing away about living their optimal life, what would that one thing be? What would be the thing that you absolutely emphasize?
Follow your passion. Make sure that you are aligned with what you doing work that you love, living a life that you love, spending time with people that you love. And all of those things relate back to passion. If you're spending time with friends or family members that you don't have a passion for and you don't enjoy being around, that's going to drain you. You're not going to be optimal. Likewise, if you're doing work that you don't love and you're not passionate about, that's going to drain you and you're not going to live your optimal life, and so on and so on. I could give lots of examples. But be passionate about your life and live it passionately, and don't be afraid to be who you are, because the more authentic and true to yourself that you are, the more you're going to understand what your passion and purpose is, and you're going to be able to fulfill those things and live optimally.
This is a conversation that we could really dive even more deeply into, because I'm pretty sure a lot of our viewers, listeners, depending on how they are connecting with this particular episode, a lot of our audience, they really are often so busy that they might not be as in touch with knowing what their passions are to even get to that stage where they're following it. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to have some more conversation about spending time discovering what our passions are and that sort of thing. What has your experience with clients been as far as that's concerned?
I found that there are some doing things that they don't necessarily want to do. I find when it comes to speeches and public speaking, a lot of them are doing speeches and presentations on things that they're forced to do or asked to do for work. And they're not things that they're passionate about, and they're not things that they care about. And so it's very hard to be an effective speaker if you're getting up there speaking about something that you have no passion for, that you have no knowledge of, that you don't care to have knowledge of, and you're forced to get knowledge of to present it. And now, granted, folks, we do have to do these things for work sometimes, but if this is showing up consistently, that's something that comes to light in my clients. And some of my clients are really in corporate type of positions, but they know their passion is outside of that, and they're working towards that. And that's a big piece of them working with me too, is developing signature talks and presentations for those things that they're passionate about, to help them build a following and an audience so that they can exit where they are now and follow that passion that they've discovered within themselves.
Beautiful. I absolutely can agree with that, because I remember being in corporate and being in that situation where I had to very often speak, because that was most of my job, was speaking, very often speak on things that I didn't care about, not really.
And it's not authentic, right? And your
wasn't
audience can see through that. They can see right through it. It just makes such a difference in your delivery when you're stuck in that kind of position.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up, do you have any tips or tricks or life hacks or podcasts or books or new apps that you're using? Anything that you think can help us all to live our optimal life?
All of the above, check, check, check. Get the LPL anthologies. Those are all helpful. And one of the things that I love about how the anthologies are structured is there's storytelling, there's workbook pages, there's practical advice. So it's not something that's just this boring book that you're going to read. It's very easy to connect with and use. Obviously, my book, Water Yourself, which is a practical guide to weed out the bad, get more good, and live your dreams. That's the one. There's a new edition out. It has journaling pages. It has workbook pages for helping you to find time for yourself, to prioritize yourself, to figure out what your goals and dreams are, and to make a plan towards achieving those, and to hold yourself accountable. So many other things. So I highly recommend you start with that. Start by figuring out what it is that you're passionate about. Those workbook pages will really help you to weed all that stuff out that's keeping you from getting to where you want to be. And that's so important. And then collaboration partners, find those collaboration partners. That's one of my favorite things has honestly been being a part of the LPL group. I have gotten so many new collaboration partners out of this. And like, we're doing the Water Yourself retreat now, and with women that I met through the Ladies Power Lunch group. And so we're putting on a whole retreat, and we're doing right now a bi-weekly Water Yourself Wednesday show. And that's going to turn into weekly in October, leading all the way up to the retreat next April. So there's all kinds of tools out there, but I would say get those LPL books, grab a copy of Water Yourself, and join the LPL community if you haven't already.
I have to say, I'm a little surprised because I always ask our guests at the end to share with us any tips or tricks of the trade that they've found to be helpful. And I'm really, really very touched that you have found such value in Ladies Power Lunch. That's really, really awesome. I really do invite everybody, come on in, join us. We are going to ask you one question when you come to the Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group to join us. And it's going to be, how do you feel about supporting other people? Feel like it's a good thing, or does it feel like it's not going to be a great idea for you? And if it feels like it's the right thing for you, then you're in the right place, and we'll open those doors wide open for you to come on in to join us. So that wasn't staged, that wasn't prepared or anything like that. I really, really appreciate that this has been beneficial for you.
If I can add one more thing,
sure.
Get a coach or a mentor. I have a lot of different mentors. I've hired coaches over the years, off and on, as I see fit, as I'm kind of in a lull and I need some help with something, coaches and mentors. And that's the other thing that's great about this group. Listen, folks, I'm not getting paid to say any of this. Dr. Davia really didn't know I was saying this stuff, but there are tons of coaches for like everything you could possibly imagine within this group, and all of them are amazing. And so if you need a coach or a mentor, I highly recommend one. At least once in your life, get a coach or a mentor. There are tons of them in this group that you can rely on and turn to for help.
Beautiful. People are going to want to reach out to you, connect with you. How can they find you?
Yep, they can find me on LinkedIn, Shannon Malkin Daniels, Facebook, Instagram, Shannon Malkin Daniels, or Shannon M. Daniels on Instagram, actually. And then my website is Speak, SPEAC, success.com. And you can find me there. You can also email me at shannon@speaksuccess.com.
I feel like you've given us all the information. There's no way we can't find you. So thanks for sharing that with us. At the end of every show, I pull a card, and it's usually just a nice thought for the day. So let's see what the cards hold for us for today. This one is Faith in the Process. I have never pulled this card before. It's from the Sacred Rebels Guide by Alana Fairchild. I'm just wondering what she has to say and how this ties in with this conversation that we're having about taking care of ourselves. It says, no matter how powerful we are, how much courage and strength we have, there are times when we can't quite move ourselves along to the next phase of life or creative exploration. At those times, we need divine intervention, a little help in pulling our trolley along. When we're at the edge of our own limits and have no more personal resources, we might be left with only spiritual power, that of faith. but fortunately, that is enough. So I don't know, how do you feel that ties in with what we're talking about today?
Is that not exactly the journey I shared earlier? Divide
It's so funny.
intervention, stepping
just
out on
talking about
faith,
that. Yeah.
changing what I was doing multiple times, resisting the call, finally answering the call. There's still some ups and downs, and you just have to stay positive and roll with it and know that everything's going to be okay. Rely on your help. The whole conversation. That's why I laughed when you pulled that card. That was exactly what I heard in my head when you pulled that card before you ever read the description. It was like, this is this conversation to a T today. So there you go.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today for the Ladies Power Lunch show. I will be back here next week, Tuesday, same time, and I hope that you will come join us to hear a conversation with me and another amazing member of our Ladies Power Lunch group as we talk about not just growing our businesses smarter, but also living our optimal lives. I'll see y'all on the next show. Bye, everyone.